The gods in the sky. The galaxy remembered the Zorathi as gods. For thousands of years, their ships moved across the stars like storms. Worlds bent their knees, empires shattered, and even the bravest races offered tribute. The Zorathi spoke. One truth again and again. We are divine. You are nothing. The galaxy believed them, because no one could stand against them. Humanity was late to the stars. When humans built their first colonies, the Zorathi laughed. They mocked Earth as a child, weak and unworthy. On the grand stage of the galaxy, humanity was a small voice, and the so-called gods made sure it stayed that way. But whispers had begun. Whispers that humans had something the Zorathi did not understand. A hidden fire. A strength not born from worship, but from will. The Zorathi ignored it, for why would gods fear mortals? Yet even gods tremble when shadows move where none should. On a cold night in the Outer Rim, alarm screamed inside the human colony of Rain Prime. The defense towers lit up the sky. Radar dishes turned and spun. Something enormous was moving beyond the orbit of the twin moons. At first, the officers thought it was a mistake. No ship could be that large. No hull could cast a shadow across. A planet's light. But the reading was true. Something older than their colony, older than the Zorathi Empire itself, was waking. The officers stared at their screens, sweat dripping, and one man whispered, "That is human." The words spread like fire through the control room. No one wanted to believe, yet the shape matched every forgotten legend of Earth's past. The Zorathi High Council received the report, and the gods laughed. They filled this great chamber with their thunderous voices. Mortals cannot build such things. They declared, "This shadow is an illusion, a lie, another human trick." Their laughter echoed across the chamber, cruel and endless. But in the silence between their laughs, the truth arrived. A small recording leaked from Rain Prime. The image was grainy, but the size was clear. The ship's hull stretched across the void like a floating continent. Weapons slumbered along its sides, each one bigger than an entire city. The markings were unmistakable old Earth symbols. Forgotten by all but the humans themselves, the Zorathi froze even as they mocked it. They called it impossible. They called it fake. Yet deep in their minds, fear whispered a question. What if the humans had built something even gods could not destroy? Back on Rain Prime, the colony trembled. Civilians stared at the sky as the dark outline passed across the stars. Children clutched their parents. Workers stopped in the streets. It was not an enemy. It was not a savior. It was something different. Something beyond words. A presence. That made mortals feel small. And gods feel mortal. The governor of the colony ordered silence. He told the people not to speak of what they had seen. But rumors moved faster than orders. Merchants carried the story to the next world. Smugglers carried it to the far reaches of the void. And soon, the galaxy spoke with one voice. The humans have awakened something. The Zorathi tried to crush the rumor. They sent fleets to patrol, to silence, to erase. But fleets disappeared. No distress call, no survivors. Only silence in the dark. And when the silence cleared, witnesses spoke of a single ship, a human warship, larger than any fleet, moving like a shadow of judgment. At the center of the galaxy, in the Hall of Stars, the Zorathi gathered again. The gods shouted, they raged, they swore humanity would pay. They reminded the galaxy that gods cannot be challenged, but the more they shouted, the less the galaxy believed, because fear had cracked the illusion. And once an illusion is broken, even gods cannot repair it. In the human command station orbiting Earth, the admirals watched in silence. They had no words, because they did not know why the ship had awakened. The old records called them Titan-class warships, monsters built during the darkest age of humanity. They were not meant to return. They were meant to sleep forever. So why had one risen now? Who had given the code? And why did it appear when the gods laughed the loudest? The admirals spoke a single message to the galaxy. It was short, it was calm, but it carried like thunder across the stars. You called yourselves gods, the message said, but now you will see what mortals can do. And in the silence that followed, the warship moved again. Its engines lit the darkness, brighter than a star. The colonies trembled, the Zarathi raged. The galaxy held its breath, because something was coming, something that would prove once and for all. The gods had never been gods, they had only been rulers of illusion, and illusions break. Asterisk. The whisper of the warship, the galaxy, feeds on whispers. One rumor can cross faster than any fleet, faster than any signal, and the rumor of a human warship was no different. It spread from colony to colony, from tavern to market, from smugglers in the shadows to traders in the light. Everywhere, one question burned. Is it true? They said the ship was bigger than a moon. They said it cast a shadow across suns. They said one volley from its guns had erased a fleet of Zarathi. Ships. Most laughed at such stories, calling them human lies. But the laughter never lasted long, because silence always followed, and silence was more frightening than rumor. On Rain Prime, workers swore they saw the warship move again. Miners said the ground shook when its engines roared. Fishermen claimed the oceans rippled though no storm blew. Children pointed at the stars, whispering they could hear the sound of something breathing. Fear became a second skin, but so did wonder, because deep inside, humanity felt something it had forgotten: pride. The Zarathi Council grew restless. The gods could not allow such whispers to grow, so they sent a fleet of 300 ships. They called it a cleansing mission, to silence the humans, to burn away the lie. The galaxy watched, eager for proof. They expected the humans to fall, as they always had. But when the fleet reached the silent void near Rain Prime, it never returned. Only fragments of a transmission survived. A scream, the sound of metal tearing, and one broken line. It's not a ship. It's a world. Then nothing. The 300 ships vanished into silence, and the whispers grew louder. In the markets of Zendar, merchants told stories with wide eyes. They said the warship was not built, but grown. They said it carried weapons from a forgotten age. Others swore it was alive, that it chose when to wake and when to sleep. Each version was different, but one truth remained. No one dared laugh anymore. The Zarathi tried again, sending priests of their divine order. The priests declared the warship was a demon. They said humanity had unleashed a curse upon the stars. But even the priests' voices trembled, because some had seen the recordings leaked from the shadows, and the recordings were not lies. A single beam of light, wide as a city, tearing through fleets as if they were nothing. A shadow that moved with impossible speed, the outline of Earth's forgotten titan. In the heart of the human fleet command, questions burned. The admirals demanded answers. Who had awakened it? No one knew. The ship responded to no beacon, no control. It moved as if following orders written long before anyone alive had been born. Ancient codes whispered through its circuits, engines roaring like thunder from Earth's past. The galaxy now whispered a new name for it, the shadow of mortals, because it was not divine, not holy, not godly. It was mortal-made, built by human hands, and yet it carried the power to frighten gods. On the colony of Vera, an old historian told the children a story. He said long ago, when humanity faced extinction, they built weapons too powerful to use. They buried them, sealed them, and swore never to wake them. But promises break, and time changes all things. Now one had returned, and if one could wake, others could too. The Zarathi no longer laughed. They raged, they threatened, they shouted before the council. They promised the humans would be crushed under divine fire. But the galaxy had already seen the cracks. The gods were afraid, and when gods show fear, faith dies. The human response came at last, a transmission play across hundreds of systems. It showed no face, no fleet, only words. Do not fear what is ours. It said, "This ship is not your God, not your Savior, not your Master. It is simply human." The galaxy fell silent, because those words carried more weight than the Zorathy shouts. If mortals could build such a thing, what else could they do? If one ship could shatter gods, how many more slept in the dark? The Zorathy prepared again, this time with their greatest fleets, armadas larger than anything seen in centuries. They swore the next battle would end the lie, but deep inside, they knew the truth they dared not speak. It was not a lie. It was a warning, and the whisper of the warship grew louder with every passing day. Asterisk. Humanity's forgotten power in the silence of the command halls orbiting Earth. The admirals searched old archives. Their eyes moved through yellowed data scrolls and sealed vaults of memory. Each file spoke of a time humanity had chosen to forget, a time when extinction walked close behind, and the only answer humanity had found was to build monsters. They were called Titan-class warships, not ships but moving worlds, each one the size of a continent, each one armed to destroy entire fleets in a breath, forged in secret, hidden in the farthest corners of space. Because even humans feared what they had made, the record spoke of a vow. Once the great wars ended, humanity buried the Titans. They erased their existence from maps. They sealed their names in forgotten codes, and the galaxy, blind to human history, never knew. Only a handful of words remained in the hidden archives. Never awaken them unless the stars themselves fall. Now, one had awakened. The admirals stared at the live feeds of the shadow moving across Rain Prime. They did not know which Titan it was. They did not know who had triggered its codes. But they knew one truth humanity had not called it. It had chosen to rise, the Zorathy, blind with arrogance, declared the ship a fraud. They promised to crush it with the full fire of their god fleet, hundreds of carriers, thousands of destroyers, weapons powered by stars themselves. Their voices roared across the council chambers, yet beneath their voices, doubt spread like cracks in stone, because even gods feared what they could not understand. The first encounter proved it, when the god fleet entered the Titan's path. The void lit up. The Titan did not fire dozens of times. It fired once. One beam, brighter than a star, split the fleet into fragments. Zorathy priests screamed that it was impossible, but their fleets burned in silence. The galaxy trembled. For the first time, mortals saw gods retreat. The image traveled across every channel, the mighty Zorathy ships fleeing from a single shadow. The illusion cracked deeper, and the whisper became a roar. On colonies far away, humanity began to remember. Old men whispered of secret projects. Ancient songs spoke of steel giants guarding the dark. Even children learned the old names. They spoke with awe, not fear, because the Titans were not gods. They were human-made, and they were theirs, but questions spread faster than hope. If one Titan could wake on its own, how many more slept? Were they all buried across the stars, waiting in silence, or had they been lost forever? The mystery only fed the fire, and the Zorathy could no longer hide their rage. In their temples, they called for divine judgment. They prepared weapons, unseen for centuries, a cannon that could break suns, a spear that could pierce worlds. They promised to erase the Titan, and with it the memory of human pride. The galaxy held its breath, because gods preparing for war was nothing new. But gods preparing out of fear was something no one had ever seen. Back on Earth, one admiral spoke softly. Maybe the ship woke not because of us, but because of them. His words spread like fire among the officers. The Titan had not risen when humanity was weak. It had risen when humanity was mocked, when the gods laughed the loudest, when the galaxy bowed to false divinity. That was when the shadow moved, and so humanity did not deny it. They did not claim lies. They did not hide the truth. They sent one simple transmission across the stars, a message carried in a human voice. Cold and steady, It woke because you mocked us. The galaxy trembled again, because no one knew if the voice spoke in pride, in warning, or in promise. But they knew one thing. The illusion of the gods had cracked beyond repair. And now, the universe waited. Would the Titan rise higher, or would it burn everything until no god remained? Asterisk clash of the fleets. The gods gathered their strength. Across the endless void, the Zarathi called every fleet, every carrier, every weapon that bore their mark. They promised the galaxy that divinity would be proven in fire. They declared humanity's warship a trick of shadows, and the only way. To end the lie was to drown it in holy war. From the orbit of Zorath Prime, the Armada rose. Thousands of ships, their hulls covered in sacred fire. Priests chanted blessings into the coms. Soldiers raised their voices, calling themselves children of gods. The galaxy watched the great gathering and felt old fear stir again. For a moment, it seemed the illusion was strong once more, but then the shadow moved. The Titan-class warship drifted into view, silent, patient, waiting. Its size dwarfed everything the Zorathi had built. Its outline blocked starlight, turning day into night on nearby colonies. Its surface glowed with scars of ancient battles, yet it stood untouched. It was not new. It was not clean. It was not divine. It was human, and it was enough. The fleets advanced. The gods roared their threats, filling the void with endless words. But words meant nothing when metal met fire. The first volley came from the god fleet, beams of light, thousands at once, crashing into the Titan's hull. The void itself trembled with the force. Planets shook in their orbits. Moons cracked at the edges. The galaxy watched as the Titan disappeared in fire. And then the fire cleared. The Titan was still there. Shields rippled like waves across its armor, but the ship stood untouched, unmoved, unbroken. Silence followed, broken only by the voice of a human officer. "Now you see what mortals built," he said, and the Titan fired. One railgun volley lit the void like dawn. It tore through the god fleet in a single stroke. Hundreds of ships shattered into dust, their wreckage scattered like ashes across the stars. Priests screamed into silence. Commanders shouted in panic. The gods themselves trembled, because their holy fleet was falling before mortal fire. But the Zorathi were not finished. They unleashed their secret weapon, a star-breaking cannon, hidden deep within their flagship. Its charge lit the skies with a light brighter than suns. The galaxy gasped, for this was no ordinary weapon. It had erased entire systems in the past. If it struck the Titan, even mortals could not survive. The cannon fired. The beam ripped through the void. Planets near its path boiled. Moons shattered. Stations burned. And when it struck, the Titan shuddered. Its shields rippled like water, breaking on stone. For the first time, the shadow trembled. The galaxy held its breath. Could even mortals build something strong enough to survive a god's weapon? But the Titan did not fall. Its shields bent, but did not break. Its engines dimmed, but did not die. From the wreckage of fire, the warship rose again. Its weapons hummed, ancient codes awakening, and the human commander's voice echoed once more. "You thought you could break us with fire," he said. "Now see what fire really means." Panels across the Titan's surface shifted. Hidden bays opened. Weapons never seen before revealed themselves. Railguns larger than mountains. Cannons powered by the bending of gravity itself. Swarms of drones launched, their wings of steel blotting out stars. The Titan was no longer just a shadow. It was a storm born from human will. The clash became chaos. The Zarathi fired everything they had, but each weapon only scratched the surface. The Titan answered with silence, then with fire. Fleets vanished in flashes. Carriers broke apart like glass. The gods screamed orders that no one obeyed. Their fleets no longer fought for victory. They fought to survive on the worlds below. Billions watched in silence. They saw their gods bleed, they saw their gods burn, and they whispered the truth they had always feared. Azorothi were never gods. They were rulers, tyrants, liars, and the moment humanity's warship fired again, the illusion shattered completely. The Titan turned its cannons toward the heart of the fleet. Its shadow spread across the god flagship, and the human commander gave his final order. "End the lie," he said, and the Titan obeyed. The void filled with light. The flagship of the gods split in two. The priests screamed. The commanders begged, and the galaxy saw divinity die. But even as the Titan stood victorious, the Zorothi were not done. They whispered of another weapon, greater than fleets, greater than fire, something hidden in the heart of their empire, something not even the Titans were built to face. And the galaxy knew the clash was only the beginning. The weapon of the gods, the Zorothi, had lost fleets. They had lost faith, but they had not lost their pride. And pride is more dangerous than fire. In the hidden vaults of their empire, deep beneath the surface of Zoroth Prime, an ancient weapon slept. It was not a ship, not a cannon, not something mortals could imagine. It was a star breaker, a machine that could unmake suns, built in silence, hidden from the galaxy. Even their own people whispered of it only in fear, because it was said that if unleashed, it would end not just enemies, but whole skies. The gods swore to use it. They told the galaxy it would erase humanity's lie. They promised that the Titan would be ash before the next dawn. Priests gathered around the weapon, chanting as if it were divine. But inside their hearts, they trembled because they knew this weapon was not holy. It was desperate. It was proof that gods had nothing left but fear. In the void above, the Titan moved slowly. It carried scars from the last battle. Its shield still hummed. Its cannons still glowed. But even its commanders wondered how much more it could endure. The human admiral stood silent in the command bridge. He had seen the recordings of the Zorothi weapon. He knew it was real, and yet his voice never shook. "They think fire will break us," he said. "Let them try." The Zorothi prepared. Their starbreaker across the galaxy, signals trembled as its charge began. Stars flickered near the edge of their empire. Planets quaked, moons split, oceans boiled. The galaxy watched in dread, because this was no ordinary war. This was God's choosing to burn creation itself. When the weapon fired, the void screamed. A beam of raw energy, larger than a planet, tore across space. Its path shredded reality, ripping gravity apart. Worlds near the blast turned to dust. The shockwave silenced all transmissions. For a moment, the galaxy saw nothing but white. And when the light cleared, the Titan remained. Its shields were fractured, its armor scorched, but it still stood. Engines still burned. Cannons still armed. The galaxy gasped. How could mortals survive the fire of gods? On the bridge, the human officers looked at their commander. Their voices shook, but his did not. "They wanted to break us," he said calmly. "Now we will." "Break them." The Titan stirred. Panels shifted. Walls of armor peeled open. Weapons hidden for centuries woke from slumber. Railguns long as continents, cannons that bent the pull of gravity itself. Swarms of drones launched like flocks of steel. Birds, their wings glowed red against the void. The Titan was no longer defending. It was answering. The counterstrike began. The Titan's cannons unleashed storms that tore fleets apart. Zorothi ships shattered before they could even flee. Priests wailed, begging their gods for strength, but their gods were the ones burning in silence. For the first time, divine arrogance met human fire, and arrogance was losing. The Starbreaker fired again, but this time the Titan was ready. Its gravity cannons bent the blast. The beam split, tearing harmlessly into empty space. The galaxy cheered, because gods had never been resisted before, and now they were being defied. The Titan's commander raised his hand. His voice was steady, sharp, final. "They think they are gods," he said. Let them see the truth. The Titan's weapons lit the void. The Starbreaker's control stations crumbled under fire. Its priests scattered in screams, and then divine weapon fell silent. The galaxy trembled as the impossible became truth. The gods' greatest weapon had failed, but the Zorathi were not finished. In their desperation, they spoke of something deeper. Not a cannon, not a fleet, but a secret buried in their very throne. Something they swore would turn the tide. And as their empire shook, the Titan moved closer, its shadow falling over their world. The gods were not laughing anymore. They were afraid. Asterisk the shattering illusion. The galaxy had seen fleets burn. It had seen gods retreat. It had seen weapons of fire bend against the will of mortals. But now it was about to see something greater. The fall of an illusion that had lasted for thousands of years. The Titan moved forward. Its shadow stretched across stars. Its cannons glowed with silent rage. The wreckage of the god fleets floated behind it. Broken, scattered, forgotten. The Zorathi priests cried out, calling for faith, calling for worship, but their voices shook, because the more they shouted, the more their people saw the truth. Their gods were weak, their gods were bleeding, their gods were mortal. Inside the Titan, the human officers worked in silence. Screens lit up with thousands of enemy signals, but no fear showed on their faces. Only focus, only fire, only resolve. The commander stood at the center, his voice calm and sharp. They built their power on lies. He said, "Now we burn the lies away." The Zorathi unleashed their last great wave. Dozens of fleets, burning bright, their weapons shaking the void. They screamed that they were eternal. They swore humanity would be crushed. But their fire only lit the Titan brighter. The railguns fired again, tearing carriers into fragments. Gravitational cannons ripped entire armadas apart like paper. Drones swarmed, flooding the skies like storms of steel. And the illusion cracked deeper. On Zorath Prime, civilians looked up at the heavens. They saw their gods' fleets scatter like dust. They saw the Titan's shadow fall over their world. And for the first time, they did not bow. They did not pray. They whispered one word instead, humans. The gods grew desperate. They activated ancient shields around their throne world walls. Of energy that had never been broken. They laughed again, but it was hollow, trembling, weak. "This is our realm," they said. "No mortal fire can touch it." But the Titan did not stop. Its engines roared, its hull lit like a second sun. And its weapons turned toward the shield. The first strike shook the planet. The second tore the skies apart. The third split the shield like glass under a hammer. And in that moment, the galaxy gasped, because what they had been told for centuries was divine, eternal, unbreakable, was shattered by mortal hands. The Titan advanced closer. The commander spoke again. His voice carried across the comms to every listening ear. "Your illusion ends tonight," he said. The words burned more than any weapon, because the galaxy knew it was true. The Zorathi begged their fleets to hold, but fleets no longer answered. Commanders abandoned their posts. Soldiers refused to fight. Even priests threw down their robes. The illusion of godhood had broken, and without it, the Zorathi were only another empire, another tyrant, another liar. The Titan fired one last time into the heart of the throne world's defenses. Citadels crumbled, towers fell, oceans boiled. Skies split with fire. The gods screamed their rage into the void. But rage cannot hide fear, and fear cannot hide truth. The galaxy saw them as they truly were. Not gods, not eternal, not divine. Only rulers who had worn masks of power, masks now torn away. On worlds across the stars, rebellion sparked, races, once broken by fear, rose with new fire. They whispered to each other of the human ship. They whispered of the mortals who shattered gods. And for the first time, they felt hope. The Titan did not stop. It drifted closer to Zorath Prime, its shadow swallowing the throne world. The commander gave no order yet, but his silence was louder than war. Because everyone knew what came next. The gods were no longer laughing. They were begging, but begging could not save them now, because the illusion was dead, and once dead, illusions never return. Asterisk. Humanity's true strength. The Titan hung over Zorath Prime. Its shadow covered the skies. Its engines hummed like the heartbeat of a giant. The throne world shook beneath its gaze. Cities trembled, oceans boiled, mountains cracked, and for the first time in thousands of years, the gods of the galaxy were silent. Inside the Titan, the bridge was calm. The human commander stood tall, his eyes fixed on the burning world below. Around him, officers watched their screens, waiting. Every system was ready, every weapon armed. With a single word, the throne of the gods would end. The Zorathi sent transmissions, desperate and broken. They no longer spoke with pride. They begged, they pleaded, they promised surrender. They swore they would never mock humanity again, but their words meant nothing. Because words could not erase centuries of cruelty. Words could not erase the laughter, the mockery, the chains they had wrapped around the galaxy. The commander raised his hand. The galaxy held its breath. Would humanity end the gods in fire? Would the Titan burn a world into ash? The silence was heavy, endless. Then the commander spoke, his voice steady, sharp, filled with weight. We never wanted worship, he said. We never asked for thrones or temples or prayers. All we ever wanted was respect. The Titan's weapons lit the skies. Beams of fire struck the heart of Zorath Prime. The god throne shattered. The great temples collapsed. The crowns of the false gods fell into dust. The world shook under mortal fire, and the galaxy saw the final truth. The gods were gone, and humanity had done what no one else dared. The galaxy erupted. Worlds once broken rose in rebellion. Chains shattered, banners burned, fleets deserted their masters. Every race whispered the same words. The humans showed us. They proved the gods were only shadows. Proved mortals can stand. But the Titan did not linger. It did not stay to rule. It did not claim the throne. It turned slowly, drifting back into the endless void. Its shadow faded into the stars, and the galaxy realized something more frightening than gods. The humans had the power to rule, but they chose not to. That was true strength. In the halls of the shattered Zorathi Empire, survivors whispered. They no longer called themselves gods. They called themselves what they truly were afraid, and their people turned from them, because once faith dies, it never returns. The Titan carried on, its destination unknown, but whispers spread across the stars. Some said more Titans slept, hidden in the dark. Others swore they would wake only when humanity was mocked again, and all feared the same question. How many shadows waited in silence? On Earth, the admirals stood in quiet victory. They did not cheer. They did not boast. They simply watched the stars. Knowing what had been proven, humanity was not divine, not gods, not eternal, not holy, but humanity was something far stronger, a species that built its own destiny, a people who turned weakness into fire, mortals who could shatter illusions older than time. And so the story spread, across colonies, across fleets, across every world that had once bowed. They told their children not of gods, but of the day gods fell. The day a human worship rose like a shadow and tore lies apart. The day mortals showed what true strength meant. The Titan vanished into the dark. Its lights dimmed, its weapons silent, but its presence lingered in every heart, and the galaxy knew one truth forever. The gods had laughed, but humanity had answered, and the answer had shattered the illusion. The war was over, but the legend had just begun. Asterisk.